The stuff that chemist is selling without any doctor's prescription, is that safe to do that?
Absolutely not. First of all, A, are you getting the right brand? B, are you getting the original drug? C, is it the right thing for whatever infection you have? And 4, are you taking for the right amount of time? Because if you're not, then you're creating resistance, something which no antibiotic can kill, and that's a huge cause for worry.
Why did you think you're going to build a business?
30% of all fake drugs in the world are made in India. This is like horrible. And there'd be a great opportunity for someone who can guarantee genuine medicines. And so I wrote the business plan based on that.
What is the revenue today?
North of 6,000 a year.
6,000 crore in a year.
Yeah.
Wow. Antibiotics in government hospitals in Maharashtra were fake.
Government stuff is usually least priced one. So if you're constantly pushing down the prices, not having any conversation around quality, you're bound to suffer this.
Should you trust a chemist which is in collaboration with a clinic right next to him?
I would say the right answer is to.
Wow, I didn't know this. Thanks. Any chemist or pharmacist who doesn't have air conditioning, we should not buy medicines from them. How to buy right medicines? Who to trust when buying the medicine? Should we even buy medicines from everywhere or anywhere? Which are the right chemists? How can you trust certain medicines, whether they are right for you, whether they've gotten expired, or whether they have been contained in a way which is really effective on you? And which doctor to listen to, which healthcare company to trust? All of these questions, which are really important for us because our world is going through a healthcare crisis. And we take medicines on everyday basis, but we don't actually know whether we are taking the right things or the wrong things. And that's what we've discussed in today's podcast with the founder and CEO of MedPlus Health Services Limited, Mr. Madhukar Gangadi. He's an exceptional and phenomenal entrepreneur who built his entire career around medical, science, operations, medicines, and bunch of other stuff. He really understands the world of entrepreneurship, human behavior, what works in India, what doesn't work in India, the healthcare system in India. You will love this episode. I was blown away with the insights after insights which he's given me. So you'll love the episode the way I have loved it. Please watch it till the end. It is one of those episodes which has made me think about so many things about my life, and I really liked it. Enjoy the show. You became a doctor, then you went to do an MBA. Why, as a doctor, you went to do an MBA?
Yeah, sure.
Why? Why did you think, okay, I'm a doctor, but now I feel like I want to build a business?
So I went to medicine because my brother was an engineer.
Okay. So parents gave you options.
So basically, in a southern family, you would say, one son needs to be engineer, one son needs to be a doctor. So it's like, okay, my elder brother was an engineer. So although I was also very keen on doing something in engineering, my parents wanted me to do medicine. Hence, I kind of went into medicine. I got brainwashed at the age of whatever, high school and everything else and all, and got in. Once I got in, I quickly realized that it was not for me.
Why?
Too small a platform. You're seeing patient to patient. You're able to change the lives of only maybe 20 people a day.
Yeah.
Right. I wanted to do a lot more, and a lot more would definitely mean, doing something bigger, an enterprise. I didn't want to get into the business of hospitals at that time. And, I didn't think, our hospitals making money of someone else's sickness was a great thing at that time. So I didn't want to make that a business. I said, okay, let's just go into business. And so very quickly I decided that I didn't want to continue. But I continued to study because I had gotten a seat in a good government college, and my parents obviously would not like it if I left. So I said, okay, let me finish it. So I finished. And then immediately after that, I got into business.
Okay.
And since, obviously my father was not very happy, I didn't have any capital. And not that he had too much capital to give me, but even if he had, he wouldn't give me anyway because he didn't want me to leave medicine, right? So I got into some building material business and did something else, and then got into all sorts of things, including trading and timber and all sorts of things from Northeast and all, Northeast India. Then around 96, 97, the whole IT revolution was basically taking shape. Yeah. Especially in Hyderabad and Bangalore and Chennai where I was living. And I saw a big opportunity out there. It was at the back of my mind. 97, I had actually gone to UK to buy some equipment, used equipment, to convert, basically what would be waste timber into big boards. And what happens in timber block is, when you take a big block, they cut. The edges all are waste. The longer and broader it is, the more useful it is. The smaller and shorter it is, it's useless. So if this gets sold for 1,000 rupees a cubic feet, this gets sold for 50 rupees a cubic feet. It's that
big difference,
right? So the idea was to basically take the small pieces and get them into proper shape, join them, as you would say, finger jointing, into one long length, and join them this way into a board. So there were machines available in UK. I had gone out there to visit friends and to buy these machines. And then I came across some articles out there where people are talking about hiring Oracle financial guys and, big demand for that and all. And I remember, people were getting trained in Hyderabad on that. So I went to that company and talked to those guys and said, listen, I've got a company in Hyderabad. I can get you these guys. And so we got started.
So first was a recruiting company.
First was a recruitment company. So these guys were on my payroll and they would get transferred as my employees and they would work as contractors there.
Okay.
So it's a contracting thing. But UK did not work very well for me. Very quickly, whoever I hired, by the time their visa came and everything else, had already jumped to US. So since US also was big and US was obviously so much better than UK, no one was willing to go to UK. Then I said, okay, fine. If everyone wants to go to USA, then why should I? So then, end of 98, I went to US. I met with a couple of friends of mine who were, seniors. They were actually elder brothers of my classmates in medicine. These guys were engineers.
Okay.
So I suggested that, let's start this company and everything else. They said, okay, fine. We already have something. You can come and join us. So I became, kind of a small partner in that whole thing. And that's how we started it. Nice. More an employee, less a partner, because I really had, they were already there. A bunch of guys, a couple of them from IIT, Bombay, and one other guy was a startup. But, obviously they knew me. And so we got started. Okay. And so I did that from 99 to 2001. And 2001, I decided that this was not working out for me very well. And because, mainly because, we built it up, it was actually doing very well. But the founders of that company, they wanted to go into something more than just consulting. It was a basic consulting company. You hire people from India, put them out as contractors. Simple, but very effective way of making a ton of money very, very quickly.
Okay. Does that work even today?
Even today, yeah. Even today.
So anybody...
Tougher and tougher.
Okay.
What do TCS and Infosys do? Right? What do all the big companies do? They basically, it's just arbitrage on the manpower cost.
Today, like this arbitration, is it easy for people to do it and make money?
Not as easy. You have to be a lot more sophisticated. You have to actually have, you can't just be a contractor like that, just sending people. You actually have to have some domain knowledge and expertise and do it in one. You have to take it like a project.
Fair.
You have to take a project and get it done. You can't just put bodies out there. It's not that easy.
Okay.
It still gets done.
Then?
So then I decided, and these guys wanted to get into something more. So they wanted to become, let us say, what is the story? They wanted to start a internet company like everyone else. 2000, everything in the world was e-commerce at that time in US. So they wanted to do something on a company which does auctioning of or a marketplace for healthcare capital equipment. Okay. So MRIs and CTs and this and that and all sorts of machines. They just wanted to put it out there.
Like the big machines. And they wanted to resell
there was one company out there, they wanted to do it, but pretty much that's not an easy thing to do. They lost it. I left the company. I started my own company in South Dakota. Then I figured, as a person with no capital and everything else, I figured out one kind of niche, which was everyone in India, every Indian in US wanted to get a green card. The process of getting green card, is a fairly lengthy process. Now it is like years. That time it was 3 years or 4 years. And there would be a labor certification, then there would be I-140, then 485, three steps to it. So I figured, through this thing, that labor certification was fastest in the 4 states of South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana. Fastest out there. So I went and set up a company in that place and hired people into that place. And because they were working for me and they were getting the labor certification faster, the green card was on a fast track. Bunch of people joined me.
Nice.
And that's how we set it up. And it worked beautifully.
Nice.
So of course, any such advantage lasts only for so long. Believe me, when I say this, I was the first company to go into a town of 1 lakh people.
Okay.
Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I literally saw it on a map and said, this is the biggest city in this entire area. So rented a place, rented an office, drove out there, set it up. Oh, by the time I was already thinking of going to Wharton.
Okay.
I put in an application for Wharton and went and started that company.
Okay.
Then we had a bunch of guys who were working in various companies. They came and worked for my company. And through that company, then they went to work as contractors. But because I was domiciled, my company was domiciled there, I was able to get the certification done from that place. And it was a fast.
Nice.
Then companies all over New Jersey and California realized that something like this was happening. And within 6 months, around 50 companies came and set up office in that place.
In that town of 1 lakh people. Okay.
In that town, in that building.
Okay.
The real estate guy who became my friend would say, hey, Madhukar, one more ghost company has come. He would say ghost company because there was no one. They rent a place and they do the green cards processing. And one more company. It went to a point where there were companies in the janitor's closet also and in the parking lot.
Right? The real estate guy should have given you like 50% of all the money coming in.
So, but then the INS came knocking. I said, what the fuck is going on? Suddenly, there was no one here. And suddenly there are like dozens of Indians filing their green card. And then they pretty much shut down most of the people.
Okay.
I kind of thought that would happen. And hence I was settled there. I was working with the local lawyer, local people, local everything. And also my thing went through. And meanwhile, I put in my application for Wharton. Got into Wharton.
Okay, so you never worked anywhere? Like after Wharton, did you go?
No.
Did a job somewhere or something?
No, not even for a day. So Wharton, basically, as I said, I was busy just figuring out my business plans. And for 3 years, for 2 years in that time, I thought out several. I wrote a business plan in my 3rd semester, which led to a business plan in my 4th semester, which became MedPlus. And I came out to raise money and came to India.
Nice. So you raised money there?
I raised very small. At that time, $500,000 was more than enough. So I raised $500,000 and came back in September 2005.
Okay. From who did you? Which year did you raise?
September 2005.
Okay. And how much did you raise? $500,000.
$500,000. That's
from who?
From friends.
Okay.
From a bunch of friends who were doctors out there. My classmates were all settled.
Okay, just ultra HNIs.
Yeah, no. $500,000 is like what? People put in $10,000 and $20,000. The largest investor was a $50,000 guy.
Okay, so 10.
That's all. So, and there's an interesting story out there also, if you want to hear it.
Yeah, please tell me.
So everyone knew me, right? And they were, and I made a plan. They liked the plan. The plan was this, that I read somewhere during my 3rd semester plan that 30% of all fake drugs in the world are made in India. I said, this is like horrible.
Yeah.
And, obviously it's a huge hazard. And there'd be a great opportunity for someone who can guarantee genuine medicines to go and basically start a business like this. And so I wrote the business plan based on that in my 4th semester. And all these guys, doctors,
this one insight you read, and then
the WHO study. It was actually a WHO report, honestly. And then they started doing the research and everything else and all. And said so the whole thing was, you set up a company which guarantees genuine medicines.
Okay.
Right. And that is the thing. And then how do you do it?
The core.
And how do you do it? Guarantee genuine medicines. Obviously you need scale and everything else and all. Then IT, software systems, everything. So made the plan. So went to all my friends and basically. So some of them were willing to give, but some of them said, what happens if you don't get the 500,000? Right. Then what happens? I said, okay, fine. Then very easy. I went to my bank in Sioux Falls at that time and created an escrow account and said the escrow account had the rule that money can come in if on this day, September 5th or some date like that, the entire 500,000 is not collected, because that is what it would take to start the company.
Yeah.
It is not collected, then the money automatically gets returned to the guys who put in the money.
Oh.
Otherwise, it gets transferred to my account in India. So then people were obviously much more comfortable and then started putting in the money and then it happened. Yeah.
Nice. So you were like, 500,000, that's a minimum. And that's, if I am not able to do that, I'm going to return everybody's money. The money came here.
Money came here. I came here on September 10th and I had promised people that I would set up 50 stores in Hyderabad in 3 months. And so we got cracking. We hired our first employee.
50 stores in 3 months?
Yeah. So we got our first employee who was a CTO.
Okay.
And he created the software for it because there was no software at that time. 2005, there are not that many chains and everything else. And I came with planning to do something which would solve at least some of the problems. A lot of times when you go to a medical store, the biggest problem is availability, fill rate. Do you have all the medicines? If you don't have it, then you go to other store and it's a waste of time and all that. So here what we said was all of our stores were interconnected through internet on day one. So any of my stores could see the inventory of the other store.
Any other store, yeah.
And it could also see the inventory of the warehouse. So we could actually fetch the product. So one way to solve the fill rate problem is have 50 lakhs of inventory in each store. Obviously, you don't have that kind of capital. Other way is to basically use everything as your inventory.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did, and that actually worked beautifully for us.
Nice.
So we had the software guys, we had the infra guys who basically created the entire thing, set up the stores. Not in 3 months, but we ended up setting up 47 stores in the first week of February of 2006.
So it took you a year?
No, it took us 1.5 months, 4.5 months. September 2005
to this February. Okay. Yeah.
February 2006, we launched. And meanwhile, we raised another 1.5 million from friends and family there.
Again, friends and family.
Friends and family out there, $2 million overall. Then on, institutional capital started coming.
So 2 million, how much company did you liquidate then?
More than I would today.
Definitely. In the beginning, everybody does the same thing. But what how much did you do?
I gave 42% of the company.
Wow. Okay.
$2 million. Like 9 crores.
So then today that $2 million would be like 16 crores, like somewhere around that.
2 million?
$2 million would be 16 crores today.
No, I'll tell you what it's exactly worth. 2 million. Because, we just did IPO, right? A $50,000 investment gave people 840 shares at that time. Those 840 shares converted to 450 shares each. Each share converted to 450 each.
Okay.
So which is roughly around 34,000 shares, 35,000 shares. And our thing is around 750 rupees today.
Per share.
So So basically it's worth around 20 crores. So a 20 lakh investment
turned out to be 20 crores.
20 crores.
Massive.
Yeah.
Massive. So the guys who invested in you, trusted you, they really minted a lot of money.
Yes.
Who was your first institutional capital?
There's a company called People Capital.
Okay.
They're from Chennai. Decent sized fund, great guys. Chennai and Hyderabad. So they saw our stores in Hyderabad. They liked it. And then they said, okay, you guys need money. And then we started talking. And then they put in 25 crores.
They put in?
25 crores.
Okay.
And after that, a couple of guys, including from Baatein. And there's one more fund from Bangalore.
Okay.
The Bangalore fund now is Kalari.
Okay. Oh, Vani.
Vani Kula.
Okay.
So Vani had invested. Between both, they invested 100 crores. So 2007, these guys invested 25 February. End of 2007, these guys invested 100 crores. So
Bangalore guys,
pretty quickly.
Kalari only.
Yeah, Kalari with the Baatein guys.
Okay.
Combined.
So 100 crores within like just 6 to 8 months, there was a conversation and they wanted to put from 25 to 100 because you're growing so fast.
Yeah. So from, let us say, February of 2007, which was when the first 25 crores came in, November, I think the 100 crores came in. And so, yeah, that kind of was, we stopped raising money for a long time after that. 134 crores, we were growing, we were profitable. And then in 2011, the company took another 50, 60 crores. These investors exited.
Okay.
All three. People, Kalari, and the Baatein guy. And 3 new guys came in.
But in 50 crores, how good they get it?
Company money was 50.
Okay.
They raised their stake for a different price.
Okay.
The company valuation went to 600 crores by the time. So they, TVS Capital, Piramal, and a fund out of New York came in.
Okay. So the big guys came in now.
Yeah. So they put in money in 2011. And, but money which came into company was only 60 crores.
Okay.
And
because majority of them was an exit for
was an exit. And from there, we grew the company till 2019. We didn't raise any more money. And in 2019, I think we raised around 200 crores from Premji Invest.
Okay.
And after that, we raised another 100 crores from Warburg Pincus. So till we went IPO, we had actually raised only about, including a 50 crore debt, we had raised 530 crores.
Total.
From 2006 to 2019. But because money was scarce, we obviously ran a tight ship and we grew the company.
That's a very capex heavy business.
It's a capex heavy business, but in 530 crores, we were profitable. We were doing a turnover of more than 2,000 crores. Company was well on its way. And compared to all the other guys, I think we did okay.
How many stores do you have today?
4,500 stores across the country.
And
we raised a further 600 crores in the IPO.
Okay.
So overall, around 1,100 crores has gone to the company.
But what is the revenue today?
I think last quarter we did around 1,550 crores in a quarter. So 1,550.
In a quarter?
Yeah. So it's north of 6,000 a year.
6,000 crore in a year is your current run rate?
Yeah.
Wow.
6,000.
Insane. Like that is, wow. It's so good. Like there are so many things we can.
Sure.
I want to go deep down now.
Sure. Absolutely.
I'm so happy to meet you, by the way. Like just amazing. 4,500 stores. Today, are you guys the largest chain in the country now?
No, Apollo is slightly larger than us. They have been around for much longer than us. They started in 91, 92, I think.
Plus they have, the Apollo guys are the hospital guys as well, right?
Yeah.
So they have unlimited capital coming in from the large family backup.
Of course. They didn't have any of our issues on the capital side for sure. But yeah.
Plus on the trust side also, right? Like you would require more money or maybe more care in order to build a trust, which Apollo inherently comes with because there are other things backing that up.
No, absolutely. Apollo is definitely in the hospital side is a known big brand, trusted and all. So they have that advantage. But that never really became a disadvantage. In a pharmacy kind of thing, it's a more local kind of thing. As long as you're big, people trust you. That's not a problem. On day one, we had opened with 50 stores, right?
So
47 stores.
Really
which basically meant, and all of it in Hyderabad only. So which basically meant from nowhere, suddenly you're seeing 50 signboards,
yeah.
Right? And these are all your billboards. And people already know that you're big.
Yeah.
And from there, we always have done that, which is go dense in a city. Today, we have 450 stores in Hyderabad, around 470 in Bangalore, roughly the same in Chennai, and around 330 odd stores in Calcutta. So wherever we go, we try to go really deep so that automatically becomes the advertisement for us. We don't, and obviously there's a lot of benefits of scale, but recognition also becomes very easy.
So which city where you went in with the maximum stores?
So we started in Hyderabad. Hyderabad, Bangalore, Chennai, because of the size, remain more or less the same, 450, 470 now.
Okay, no, I'm saying like on the day one, whenever you thought of going to Bangalore, everywhere you started with like 40, 50 stores?
We start with at least 30 to 40, mainly because of one thing, because you set up a warehouse. And warehouse is a cost. So unless you amortize that cost very quickly over a certain number of stores, you're going to lose money.
Yeah.
So you have to have that. So that's the model anyway. Yeah.
So you went in with like 40 stores, for example, or 40, 50 stores on day one. Everybody sees you. Plus So these are like 50 signboards, design element is better, there are new stores, so people have curiosity and fascination to go somewhere. And they're like, okay, if I'm going to get the same medicine, let me get it from like a fancier shop. So that all fascination comes with the game. What do you think worked for you, which a lot of other guys at the same time were there in the market, didn't work for them, but something worked for you? Like, how are you different? What do you think was your magic quotient to win?
Again, I should say healthy dollop of luck. And being at the right time, right place and all that. But that said, the one thing in which we were different was that while rest of the guys were, I would say, largely looking to replicate the US model. Basically say, let's put up a very nice store, Walgreens kind of thing, with a small pharmacy and a large area in which they would have the general goods and everything else and all. A nice walk-in kind of store. We figured that India was not yet there for it. Maybe now it is, but at that time it was not yet there. We figured that we'd just take the inefficiency of a normal store and make ourselves super efficient. So we were addressing the 2 or 3 main problems. One was, of course, we would go in with saying that we're guaranteeing you genuine medicine. So you come to us, that is a given. But we very quickly realized that is alone was not enough. So you also had to basically do slightly better than that. So we said, we have 50 stores, we have scale. And so we are able to buy at a better price than anyone else. And we're able to give you a discount. So we started on day 1 with a 10% discount, which moved to 15, then became 20% discount. So we give 20% price off on all bills above 1,000. And that is the highest price off in both the online and offline side. No one matches.
Nobody gives. Even today, nobody matches.
Yeah, no one matches it. And once in a while, they'll have some promotional offer and all. And if you add all the delivery charges and everything else, it goes much above our price. So for us, that's been the thing. So we wanted to take advantage of the scale to pass on some of the benefits out there to the customer. And that's what drew people in.
So you wanted the supply.
And then we also said, fill rate is a critical problem. People keep going from store to store asking for stuff. So we basically got connected through internet everywhere else. And our guys, the smallest of store would also say, okay, I don't have what you asked for, but I can clearly see it in my warehouse. I'll fetch it and give it to you tomorrow morning. So this was a guarantee. Versus a normal chemist who would say, I will try and get it. There's no guarantee he would get it for sure. Because he can't really know what is available in the distributor market. So for us, fill rate then became an easy thing. And since we had our own software, we continue to have, today, from the point of sale to our online stuff, apps, delivery, everything is in-house. The entire software is like in-house for us.
And then continuously, how do you develop this business acumen? You sound very sound with business and strategy. I want to understand. Do you read continuously? Do you have business mentors? Have you hired like consultants on board? What do you do? Apart from, let's say 90% is you being genius and you understanding your market and you understand your customer. Then you've done great for yourself. So what about the 10%? That 10% must be coming out from somewhere, which must be giving you enough perspective to go out and build your other 90% of just your own intel.
No. I would definitely say it's, I've always been an avid reader. Always, from the time when I was a child, I would read continuously and all. So that is always there. So you're always exposed to a lot more than what you're seeing, right? And definitely, I think the stint in US also helped a little bit. Then once I came and basically started the company, I of course had great people with whom I worked with. I had a classmate from medical college who got really enthusiastic about the business when I talked to him and he came and joined me. This guy, very sharp guy, was my roommate in medical college, did his MS, did his FRCS. Then he's now the chief operating officer of MedPlus.
Sweet.
So, and I had a classmate in Wharton who also came back and joined us. He's an Indian guy, but born in America. And he came back and helped us in the first initial part of the time. So obviously that is great for us, having really good people at the top. And along the way, we built up a really good team of people who have been there with us for more than 15 years now. So that helped. Second thing is, we've also funded very early by really good investors who, well, they definitely look out for their own profit. But the fact of the matter is they make profit only if you make profit. So your interests are perfectly aligned. And so you have the benefit of being able to talk to really smart guys. So as an entrepreneur, you probably have a lot of optimistic kind of ideas and you can run them by these guys and then, they will temper it down a little bit. But it is great to have a sounding board. So if you can use your investors for that, it's fantastic.
Okay, so let's break that down, okay? And give me one name each. I know it's very difficult for you, but you need to point it out. So in your sounding board, tell me one book which every entrepreneur should read.
Keeps changing, honestly.
But today, at this point, if you want to say like something that you really like, maybe recent or old, I don't know.
I like The Tipping Point.
Malcolm
Gladwell. I definitely like The Outliers. Growing up, I loved Fountainhead and the other book by Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged. So those were the formative kind of things in which you have original stuff. You want to craft, make your own path and do whatever you want. But strictly on the business side, I would say, Good to Great, all this typical, kind of stuff, which
has been there for decades.
Which has been there for decades, right? And the other book which I really liked at that time was Blue Ocean Strategy.
Yeah.
That of course was, really good. Kind of was, what we were doing, right? Basically just, doing the same in a regular industry, but changing it slightly using technology and everything else to get a huge advantage and all, and then change it. So for us, for me, I would say those. But other than those, I read a lot for pleasure also.
Okay, you're an avid reader. Do you watch Netflix and Amazon Prime and all of that?
Yeah,
what do you watch there? Money Explained, Pharma Explained, Lies Explained. Do you watch all those documentaries which is all about scams?
Not as much. Just to kind of wind down, I watch a little bit of fiction and all this sort of stuff.
Okay.
But one of my favorite authors now, and it should not be. It's like a guilty this thing out there. I would say is Michael Connolly.
Okay.
And I think his series came out in Prime, Bosch. Very, very good. This thing and all. It's just fun.
Nice.
But other than that, general fiction, I end up reading almost, not general fiction, I end up reading everything. One of the best books I read though, I must say, last year was The Chip War.
Okay. A lot of people have been talking about The Chip War.
Yeah. It's an amazing book.
It's a really good book?
No, it's an amazing book. I mean, it basically takes you from the time in which, they were doing computers through vacuum drives and all that, all the way to your, latest chip, which is now made only in TSMC and all.
Yes.
If you actually read it, you will understand the whole, I would say geopolitics of the whole thing.
So here's my question. What is that one thing that people misunderstand about drug industry?
So let me take it up from the consumer side.
Okay.
Right? Because the market may think something, everyone else may think something else and all, but consumer is what we're concerned about here. For a lot of the people, when they hear stuff like branded generic and generic, they're automatically assuming that one has something special and the other not as much. And so one will be more expensive and the other will be cheap. Right? And that also means they also think that one would be better quality and the other is poor quality. Okay. This is a misconception. The later is a misconception. Right? Because there's no such thing as, so quality is not dependent on the brand. So in the industry, there are only two things. A pharma company will make a drug and either sell it through canvassing doctors and asking them to write a prescription, which involves a lot of field force and everyone else who go out there, talk to people and all, adds cost.
Yeah.
And then they are writing a particular brand of a particular drug of a company. Now, they also have another set of drugs. Some of them, not everyone, some of them. They sell these directly to chemists and say, I don't have to market anyone. If someone asks for it, get it. And they give it. So those are cheap, right? So now, it doesn't mean that the first one is better quality and the second one is not. What makes it good or bad is the manufacturing facility which makes it.
Okay.
Is the process which is been undertaken to actually make the product. While the actual API may be same. Some may say, what is the big deal? It is paracetamol 650, right? Why should I pay so much extra for the brand? I'll buy a cheap one. They may not be wrong, but they actually have to understand it is not just the API which makes the quality, it is the actual manufacturing process. So it is not who writes the drug. Just because a doctor has written the prescription doesn't mean it's a great drug.
Okay.
He could be writing of a really good company, made in a very good factory. Great. And we all have heard of doctors who write
random
prescription, which is available only in the neighboring chemist.
Yeah.
Which is not available anywhere else. So that could be whatever it is. Yeah. It is a small company. The guy is writing it. It could be made anywhere. We don't know whether the quality is good or bad or ugly. We don't know at all.
Yes.
And I'll tell you why, right? Because it is not just the API. And the doctor sometimes is also thinking, yes, why should this large pharma company make so much money?
Yeah.
I will get my friend to make this drug somewhere and I will sell it in the chemist shop right next door to this thing. Both of us will split the profit. All great, right? The problem is, and it is the same drug. Yeah. They convince themselves it is the same. Tell me Sartan 40, no big deal. Let's make it and sell it. The fact of the matter is, API alone is not enough. Once the API basically comes into a factory.
Okay, explain API in simple language so that the world understands.
Yeah, it's the active pharmaceutical ingredient. It is the thing which makes the actual pharmaceutical action. It's the chemical.
Okay.
Right?
So these are like these powders and chemicals.
Yeah. These are these chemicals.
Okay. So which are formed and processed together in a manufacturing facility to come in a tablet form.
Yeah.
And that...
No. The API is the bulk drug.
Okay.
It is the actual ingredient. Right?
Okay.
Now to the actual ingredient, what do you do? Because you can say some of the drugs are 1 mg. 1 mg is what? It's 1,000th of a gram, which is 1,000th of a kilo. You can't really take it, right? It's you can't even get it. So what do you end up doing then? You put it in a form in which it is stable for a long time. Can be taken in a tablet form. So they add things which are excipients, other things out there to make it into a tablet.
Okay.
So 1 mg tablet, 1 mg actual thing could be a 50 mg tablet.
Okay.
So the size will be this big. It is 50 mg. It is not 1 mg. The other things which go into it are things which don't react with it, which keep it stable and which allow you to consume it. So all those are basically put together and then consumed.
Okay. So the API is the actual drug which will actually do the effect inside your body.
Inside your body. It'll get absorbed and basically do what it has to do over there. Right? Now this 1 mg thing basically becomes a 50 mg tablet.
Okay.
Now the process of making it is in a formulation factory. Now this formulation factory could be good, okay, or really bad, or really ridiculously bad, right? Okay. So what makes it? And why does it matter, right? If it's the main thing, why does it even matter? So think of it this way, one small thing. So you're taking a mg thing, you're putting in a 50 mg tablet. So what do? They put it and mix it.
Yeah.
If the mixing is not thorough and not proper and the process is not followed, how do you know that the tablet you're taking, 50 mg tablet, has that 1 mg ingredient? If it is not mixed well, maybe it has nothing. Maybe it has half mg. Maybe it has 3 mg, right? So so that mixing itself is a process which has to be done perfectly.
Yeah.
Especially because when you're talking about, see, doctors write 1 mg and 2 mg. That means what? That there's a difference between the potency of this and that, right? So when a 1 mg can change the potency so much and affect you, do you not want to be careful about where you're buying it, which factory you're buying it? Because they may not have mixed it properly at all. So it is not okay to buy anything. You have to buy it from the factory which has the right processes to make it.
My problem is it's very difficult to trust a quality.
Yeah.
Because if I trust, let's say, X brand, for example, I'll give you CTZ. Like it's a drug because I've been allergic all my life. So I've taken a lot of cetirizine. Now, I know that X brand, for example, let's say a large brand, pick up anything. Let's say Cipla. I trust Cipla. So when a Cipla gives me CTZ, I trust them. They have CTZ, right? I'm just asking. I'm just making it up to give an example.
Absolutely. They have it.
So if Cipla makes CTZ, then I trust them. So if I read Cipla on the back of CTZ, I'm just going to have it.
Yes.
Because I'm scared that any other CTZ might not come from a really good manufacturing capacity or a good quality. How do I trust it?
Okay, fine.
So for me, the trust is a problem.
Exactly.
So I know that there are 5 other brands who are giving me same level of quality like Cipla, but because I don't know them, I don't trust them yet. I don't know how to find out them, even if they're at like a 50% cheaper price.
Let me ask you this. So instead of Cipla, if you said Dr. Reddy's, would you take it?
Yeah.
Right? You would take it if it's Lupin.
Yeah.
Torrent.
Yeah.
Any recognized name,
brand. Yes.
large guy, you would say, fine, good enough. What's wrong, right? You take it, right? Yeah. So, but all these guys go through doctors, have a distribution channel, and the cost is
really high.
Really high. Now, if I were to tell you that, listen, I've got Cipla, Torrent, Lupin, I also have MedPlus. And MedPlus basically is just as large, right? We are larger than a lot of the companies which are, except for the top 20, our turnover will be larger than most of the pharma companies. So we're not going to basically go out there and tell people to just buy whatever. We're going to make it in the best facility and all that. So if I ever tell you, would you then take it?
Yeah. Because I trust MedPlus.
Yes. So that is what we should be heading towards. And not basically saying, one, I buy only what the doctor gave, or I'll buy anything. Anything is, so neither is right. Going blindly by this is not right because he may have given you something wrong. Going blindly by what the chemist gives you also is not right because we don't know what factory that thing is getting made. So you have to basically see that if you get the brand, you should. Then you go for the best price.
Don't you think you'll become competitor to like a lot of these large pharma companies who are giving you large discounts?
So
do they see you as competitors?
No, as our private label grows, right? But it's still going to be a very small part of the overall market for a while, right? But eventually, yes. See, eventually, and I don't know how you can really avoid this whole, let us say, genericization of the entire industry itself, right? Government is doing it through Jan Aushadhi stores and all. Someone like us is educating people that, all these drugs are same. As long as the manufacturer is good, you should buy it and take the best price. And I'm pretty sure as we are doing it, our competitors will also do it. It will not be long before, a bunch of other guys also say, we are losing share to MedPlus, so we should also. And as they do it, it validates our thing even more. And so it'll happen eventually, that's for sure. Because there's absolutely no reason why a drug which is not on patent and can be made by 100 different people
and can be sold at 50% less price.
Have so much margin, right? It will, come down to the base level margin, which is maybe 20, 25 or whatever it is.
Fair. So today they don't see you as competition. Even if they do, they have more to lose than to gain after doing a tussle with you. So it's better to just be friends with everyone.
No, I'm 100% sure everyone knows about it, but it's going to happen sometime in the future. So you keep making as much money as you can and then keep evolving and maybe, they'll start making their own, Big O's and Ozempics and all, who knows. Or they'll also start importing stuff. And see, there's always going to be patented drugs. There'll always be someone who has to sell those. And a lot of them are not sold in India because we think there's not enough market. But as the country grows more and more affluent, some of those drugs will find a market and someone has to sell it. And we can't copy it because they're all patented.
Okay. In India, which is the highest selling medicine
For us,
for you?
for me, it is aceclofenac, I think.
That acidity.
No, aceclofenac is a painkiller, honestly.
Okay.
It's aceclofenac. Yeah, that's the brand.
That's a brand.
No, that's the name of the drug, and there are several brands.
Which brand would be like the highest of this particular drug for you?
I think our own drug, probably our own brand. I think. and then along with that, I think there's Hyphenac or someone like that, I think.
Do you think then the stuff that chemist is selling without any doctor's prescription, in India this happens a lot, should you go and buy out just basis on the recommendation of chemist? Here's what happens, okay? I go to a chemist and I say, hey, I have cough and cold, or I have a sore throat. Please help me out something. And he gives you something, you come home and you take it. Is that safe to do that?
Absolutely not. But that said, there are a lot of otherwise OTC drugs which are sold from behind the counter in India on a prescription. Those need not be. A cough syrup is not necessarily this thing out there, right? Especially if it doesn't have any of the, let's say, the sedative properties and all. So you could, get a painkiller. Abroad you can go get ibuprofen and all the other things out there without any problem, right? So here, for almost everything other than a couple of drugs out there, everything you need a prescription. Yeah. That is not necessarily, I would think, right? But that gets misused. Sometimes, chemists are handing out antibiotics, and that's a problem. You take it without knowledge of, whether it's antibiotic and how good or how bad it is. That's a problem. First of all, A, are you getting the right brand? B, are you getting the original drug? Even if you're getting the right brand, are you getting the original drug? C, if you're getting it, then is it the right thing for whatever infection you have? Or do you even have infection? Yeah. So, a lot of times viral fevers don't require any antibiotics, but routinely people take antibiotics. And 4, are you taking for the right amount of time? Because if you're not, then you're creating resistance, and that bacteria which has resistance is now getting passed on to someone else, and then slowly you start getting something which no antibiotic can kill, and that's a huge cause for worry, right? So all these things, the actual drug, the efficacy, then the dosage and the duration, all have to be done by the doctor.
But the large market is there. Like a lot of people just go to chemists and trust them for whatever. It should not be done.
Absolutely not. I mean, at the least, they should basically consult a GP and basically general physician, and then figure out what. At least if you're taking an antibiotic, right, they take it for the right amount of time.
Okay.
So that if there is actual infection, then it is killed beyond doubt. Don't take it for one day. Say, okay, my cold is now over, so I stop. So then you're basically letting those last amount of bacteria stay there and then gain resistance and everything else.
So we spoke about chemists. There are doctors who have in-house setups.
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about a medical shop right next to them. They have an in-house setup where they give you some 3-4 tablets unbranded in like a plastic bag, small bag. You've seen that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
and then they give you, hey, this is the dosage for 3 days. Just take this, and there's pink color tablet, yellow color tablet, white color tablet. You take it in a hope that I trust the doctor and come home. Is that safe? Should people do that?
I don't think so. I don't think it is safe at all.
But it works. I've done this with one doctor and I've done it for the longest time till the time I was not this aware. I used to do that because I used to trust that doctor. I used to go there. My family used to trust that doctor for years, and we kept doing it, and he would give me for like 3-4 days. I would take it and I'll get okay.
No. The human body, a lot of times, repairs itself.
So what they do is placebo?
No, it is possible. It has aided a little bit, right? It is possible. It is a placebo, right? It is possible. It is not needed. You would have anyhow gotten better, right? But that is not what you are really looking to do when you go to a doctor. You want to make sure that, the 1 out of 100 times or a 2 out of 100 times, in which case where precise diagnosis is needed, is actually given to you. Because most of the times it may be nothing, it may heal you, right? But on the one off chance that it is something more serious, you need an experienced guy to catch it. Most of the times there's no problem. But that doesn't make it right, because you don't know, first of all, A, is it a placebo? B, would you have anyhow gotten better or not? C, if it really worked, this thing, it worked. But you don't want to take that risk. You want to basically go to a doctor and say, okay, listen, because any doctor who's handing pills like that probably is not getting paid enough for consulting. Hence, he's trying to make money through selling the pills.
Okay.
So, and that is a problem in the country. So, if you go to the right doctor, he's probably going to charge you for his time, maybe 500 or 1,000 rupees or whatever it is. But then he will not give you unnecessary testing. He'll not give you unnecessary pills. He'll give you the right thing. That's the whole, right? Your goal should be to go to that guy.
Okay, but the guy who's giving you just in-house made stuff.
We don't know. So again,
would you trust it? No,
absolutely not. Knowing what we know, absolutely not. There are 10,000 manufacturing facilities in the country. I would say, MedPlus makes our own drugs, right? We get them made through very large contract manufacturers. 90% of our stuff gets made by 4 people. The reason is, we don't trust too many people out there. We go out there, check it out. We make sure that every single one of the people who are making the drugs for us are also making it for dozens of other large companies, and then only get it made. We see the processes and everything else and all. So why do we not go to the rest of the people? we don't know about the quality, right? And maybe we don't know about the 100, 200 other good guys, but I am 100% sure all the 10,000 will never end up going. So if your pill is coming from someone like that, then it could be anything, right?
Why do few doctors prefer certain companies over others? And they prescribe and they have their favorite brands and they only want you to buy those brands. Why does that? How does that work?
In my mind, the really good doctors don't really mind. They will write, they'll write what they remember, and they'll remember, because there's a medical representative or someone else coming to their place every day and talking to them. So they start off and that guy's introduced new drugs and they have no reason to think it is wrong, right? So they continue. A lot of people will write it because that's what they remember. If you tell them, listen, I want to buy something else from, instead of Cipla, I want to buy it from Torrent, they'll say, okay, go ahead, no problem, right? They're not going to really say this way or that way. And some people, and this happens in very small towns and all, where the consulting fees is small, most of the money comes to them from the drugs. There, they make the money through drugs and they will insist that you go and buy that drug from the neighboring chemist or whatever. They're making a huge cut. That's all, right? They're making a huge cut because that's what, subsidizes this overall thing. Now, again, I don't want to judge it and say, okay, this is bad or good or whatever. If that thing is made in a great factory and everything is good, fantastic. But if it is not, then it's a roll of the dice. So it's better to basically avoid that and go with a name which you know.
So how do you know that the doctor is, now that let's say every drug you sell, 450 rupees I'm going to make. How do you know that the doctor has sold these many drugs?
Yeah. So there's a way for that.
Okay.
What they basically call these guys is, in South at least, I don't know how it is called now. They call these propaganda drugs for whatever reason, right? Okay. So to, let us say, keep track of the exact amount of contribution of each doctor, what these guys do is, first of all, they make it under a name which no one else has. So take Telmisartan 40, right? The brands are Telma, Shelma, and all the big brands. This guy makes something else, XYZ Telma, right? It's his own company. No one else has it. XYZ Telma, whatever stuff he puts out there. And then that XYZ Telma now, in a city like Hyderabad, which has got maybe 1,000 doctors and maybe 1,000 different areas, he'll go to 5 different areas. His 5 doctors. He goes to this guy and says, sir, write this. And this prescription is available in this medicine is available here. So every drug which is sold is because of this guy only.
Because it's on a different name.
Because no one else is there. XYZ Telma is a unique name for which some unknown guy is going around saying, oh, my great doctor has written XYZ Telma, I need that only. And the doctor also very helpfully says, boss, you have to buy only that, right? I want you to buy only that. This guy is now going out there and buying it.
So there's a specific name for a specific doctor?
Yeah. So this guy has launched a specific name thing under a very small batch and is distributed that batch across several towns, but each very far from each other. Each doctor is very far from each other. So there's no chance of this doctor writing a prescription and getting sold here.
Okay.
Absolutely no chance because that prescription is available in the chemist shop right next door to that fellow only. It is not even available elsewhere.
Okay.
So which means what? If it is sold to this guy, right? So now these guys put the drugs, they sell, they split, end of story. So that guy takes 1 lakh tablets or whatever is the minimum batch, makes it in some quality, distributes across 10 doctors, 10,000 each, and then just rakes in the mullah. And then, he gets slightly more adventurous. He'll put more drugs, employ some more people, and then have some more doctors coming in. And then that guy is paying off that guy. So initially it is through contact.
Okay.
And later it is through employees' contacts. So now he's slowly becoming a big company. And then, then you have the IPO.
Like every year, don't you look at your data and be like, hey, this is the highest selling drug for me. Here's the competitor. Highest selling drug of this company gets me like 30% of my revenue. And I'm making only a 12% margin on it. And here's the second company. If I go to them and be like, hey, you know what? You guys make the same drug. I trust you the same way. You guys only sell 10% of all this. These guys sell 30%. Maybe I can help you go from 10 to 15%. Give me that extra 5%. Don't you guys do that?
No, we could do it.
But have you done that? You must have done that in the beginning,
no? No, the only reason we don't right now, we just go by scale. The only reason we don't is mainly because of this. It increases the amount of transaction time in the store, which makes it impossible for us to serve everyone. That small delta, whatever we get, is not worth basically making people wait. The delta has to be really, really big. And that is only when we have our own brand. And then we are then coming at it from several different ways. See, let's say you come in and you have something from Cipla. And I tell you, I don't have Cipla, or I have Cipla, but I have something else, and I'll give it to you at 5% less. Take it.
ये वाला ज़्यादा अच्छा ले जाओ. Same ही है ले जाओ.
Same ही ले जाओ. What is your incentive? You're saying it costs the same, by the hell am I taking it? Give me what my doctor wrote, na? Why are you wasting my time?
₹5 कम में मुझे क्या मिल जाएगा?
₹5 कम में, why should I take it? So what is your incentive as a customer, right? Other than, you're getting annoyed. You're not really getting anything out of it. Now, if I make it really that good for you, that you start to consider, I don't think anyone can basically fund it to that level.
Like if I'm coming for 100 rupee drug and you sell it to me at 50 rupees,
right?
Now that is something I would consider.
Then you may consider, but I don't think anyone out there is trying to get business so desperately.
Here's the thing, okay? So let's say a Zepto or a Blinkit ties up with someone like you who has insane amount of supply side, let's say for the beginning, or if they don't want to set up their own supply, let's say
it's easy enough to set it up. That's
okay. So let's say they set up their own supply at a dark store. So they're paying less rent than you, they're paying less stuff than you, and their foot is this one guy, okay, who's like a chemist, who they've hired, and I'm at my home, I go to hospital, I get the treatment done, and I get the prescription from a doctor. I click the picture, I upload it on like a Zepto or Blinkit, and by the time I'm home, that guy there just checks it, gives those medicines, and the guy just comes in and delivers to me. So it's like I'm saving my 10-15 minutes, and it's not about saving 10-15 minutes, it's just the friction that I have to go to a chemist and I have to stand there and then ask them and then do the same thing.
Sure.
Probably I'll just go home and get it.
Sure. But usually what happens, and there's a problem most of the times, is you are at a doctor's place, the chemist is right next door, and you want the thing right then and there. You don't even want to wait till you get home because you want to make sure that you've gotten all the drugs which the doctor has written. That is the most important thing. Fill rate is the most important thing in medicines. So you need to basically make sure that you get all the things. So which are you then better off doing? Even today in Zepto, when you go and order on any of the quick commerce guys, you will get some of the stuff which you require. You don't get all of the stuff. You never get all of the stuff, right? So
because out of the stock,
No, that's how it is. If you want to really deliver quickly, then you have to be really close to your customer. And the closer you are to your customer, the lesser stuff you can keep. Because I can't be close to everyone and put everything in the world. By nature, it has to be for something which is urgently required for you. So you basically say, okay, I'm suddenly missing something in my cooking or this or that or some urgent thing. I ask for it. It's mostly a generic product. It's bread, eggs or milk or this or that or whatever stuff which you then need, but which you're not really brand conscious about. And they say, okay, fine, any regular this thing is there. So it's a list of around 500 to 2,000 items which are there in a dark store which immediately get delivered. And that's why that works.
In Mumbai, not every doctor has a next door chemist. Like a lot of them, at least here, the two, like in this area, because recently I got sick and I went to two of them. Both of them didn't have any chemist out there.
Oh, okay.
Like literally there was no chemist and I had to go to a wellness right under my house and I picked it up from there. So it was not the right next door doctor's chemist. I had to go there, and then there's this one guy at the chemist was like, okay, 50-60% of the things are available. Next of the thing we'll deliver by tonight at your home. I'm like, okay.
Sure. So that's what usually happens. But most of the times though, there's a guy out there. So I'll tell you one more reason. The people who buy medicines from us, the chronic guys, are very price sensitive. They get the highest discount. So if someone were to crack it such that they give the highest discount, they give the best full rate, and they give it in 10 minutes, I'm sure people will love it. But there's a cost to it. Right? There's a massive
cost. But don't you think somebody would partner with you and be like, hey, you know what?
No,
we have this expertise. We have the expertise of delivering in 10 minutes. You have the expertise of the whole supply chain. Let's do it together.
It is not a free delivery. Expertise of 10-minute delivery comes at a ridiculous cost. Right? It costs 800 to 1,000 rupees to employ a guy today. A person can deliver maybe 3 orders an hour. In 8 hours, does 24. Probably costs you around 40 rupees a day. So it is not free. And if he's fully occupied, by the way, because he's going 10 minutes to your house and 10 minutes to the dark horse, he can only do one, right? And I don't think there's any batching in that. So if there's no batching, then there's only so much you can do. So what I'm saying is, if you can deliver the discount and not have the delivery charge. So because price sensitive people are going to basically, so there'll be element of people who will basically say, listen, I don't mind the cost, right? But that is the same set of people who are buying in quick commerce. Not everyone is going to buy. Not everyone is going to suddenly abandon all the discount grocery stores and start buying only here.
Deccan Herald recently posted this, that antibiotics in few of the government hospitals in Maharashtra were fake. In government hospitals, a government supply, a government chain is all fake.
No, but why do you find it surprising?
Because this should come from like a typical good place, like not from like a...
Government stuff is usually L1, least priced one. So if you're constantly pushing down the prices, not having any conversation around quality, you're bound to suffer this, right? So India is already one of the cheapest drug places in the world. And we continuously try to reduce the cost by basically saying, let's price it lower and lower and lower, leaving no room at all for people to make money. So if that's what happens in government, it's going to get reflected elsewhere too.
But what I find more fascinating is India is one of the top distributors and producers of fake medicines in the world. And yet India is one of the top distributors and manufacturers for pharmacy in the world.
Yeah.
So there's a big problem of fake medicines. yet we are the pharmacy for the world. In fact, India is called as the pharmacy factory of the world.
No, I fully agree with you.
And all of this, you said 90% of the drugs in US are being sold as generics, and 90% of the generic drugs, right,
are probably made in India.
Are probably made in India.
Yeah.
And in fact, 1 out of 3, every drug which is getting sold in US is getting made in India.
Absolutely. So no, I don't.
If we are doing the fake stuff,
I don't see.
Then around the world, people are buying the fake stuff.
I don't see too much contradiction out there at all, because the guys who are buying the stuff from India are visiting the factories continuously. Everything is controlled. US FDA has got one of the strictest quality norms out there. I don't think there's any chance of any fake stuff going to US at all. Right.
First of all, the fake stuff is getting sold in India.
Yeah, I would think so.
Like our own country, our own manufacturers, our own people, what they're doing is making the good stuff for US and selling all the bad stuff in our country.
No. It is not the same person.
Okay.
If a guy could sell in US, he has no incentive to sell bad stuff in India or anywhere in the world. He's making enough money, right? So it is just the fact that there's so much knowledge of this whole industry. Everyone thinks he can make it. And then he goes, sets up a factory, it is not running. Then he does something else.
How come India became the world, like pharmacy factory for the world? But only because of labor arbitrage? Because API largely comes from China.
Yeah.
So the actual drug is coming from China. And then a lot of these machines which are required to make this is coming from European countries or China.
Yeah.
Right? So the machine is from China or European countries. API is from China, but it's getting made in India. So why all of a sudden like India became a big thing? Because it's getting sold in some other country, sourced from some other country. What are we doing right that it has gotten this? I'm talking about the positives here. And
no, absolutely. There's a lot of
what did we do right?
There's a lot of positive. No, these are all, it's all luck and everything else, I would say, right? So herd intelligence. One guy does it, making a ton of money. His cousin knows it. He goes and sets it up. His cousin knows it. His neighbor knows it. And slowly, all of them basically start setting it up. Okay. And that's why you see clusters of industries coming up in various areas. And once they start coming up out there, then the ancillaries also come up out there. Then all the other guys, knowledge workers are also there. And everyone, it helps set up the entire thing. We did a good thing. So we got lucky with a bunch of companies out there like IDPL and all, which, as I said, had a bunch of scientists who came out and started something and did the whole API. I mean, they started with APIs and then went into formulations and everything else. Once they did that, they did a good job of getting US FDA approved licenses, making a ton of money, which encouraged other people also to do it. And now suddenly we have the best pool of manpower to do a US FDA kind of thing. We have the best pool of, let us say, workers and scientists and all to do the formulation, the reverse stuff. Once the drug is coming off patent, then there are tons of people in India working on the formulation to get it all done. So it is a network effect.
Okay, so it's a combination of network effect and just labor arbitrage, competition, and all of this together.
So starts off with labor arbitrage, and
then
you became successful. So a few guys became that. Then network effect.
Few guys from that dropped out. They started their own thing, and then
usually, I mean, and then it doesn't really matter. Then now the quality thing is so nicely stamped on the good companies that people will not risk it. The cost of the drug is so less. They're not going to say, instead of, let's say, a drug which I sell at 1,000 rupees, I'm making it for 10 rupees or 12 rupees in India. Now, do I want to make it for 9 in Bangladesh and, risk it? It doesn't make too much sense. It's not garments and all that kind of stuff. So this is slightly, more high value add kind of thing for those guys. And so they prefer to doing it here.
So you would credit the growth of Indian pharma to Indian entrepreneurs playing the network effect and setting up their own shops way more than like a government policy or any kind of competitive advantage or some level of strategic stuff that we did.
I could be wrong, but I don't know of any government involvement here. I'm sure they're helping them, but it is largely because the entrepreneurs have done it, right? Whether it is IT or this. IT is because entrepreneurs, a lot of people out there, and they basically, we had the demographic dividend, as they say, right? A lot of young people, who learned and basically took a positive this thing from good role models and who became what they became. And then they helped us get to it. So I would think, I could be wrong. Honestly, I don't know if the government has done anything great on this. They did do something on the PIL, as they call it. The
production linked incentive.
PLI. Yeah, so they did something out there. But this is much after the whole thing anyway. So hopefully it'll make us better. A lot of
state governments must have provided that.
Hopefully it'll make us better as we go forward. But yeah.
That takes me to the point a few days ago. A bunch of us are like entrepreneurs in the country. Like few of the top ones, we were all sitting and we were debating about what has caused India's growth and why all of a sudden the world is speaking about India and what makes us optimist. And I pointed this one thing and everybody agrees this. And this also, you pointed this as well in our conversation as well, that India's growth, if you look at, it's not really because of some strategic location we have, some advantage we have, or the government's helped us, or somebody came with some idea that India should be given any kind of unfair advantage. Nothing of that sort. It's because of the entrepreneurs of the country. Like the whole country is so jugadu and wants to do something and wants to make money and wants to just go out, and we want to break up our generational status that we have been given, or the economic strata that we come from. We want to break that and want to do something outstanding. And that's why we've been winning. And that's why we've gone from being like nowhere and being one of the poorest in the world to now being considered as a top 3 and being in the race of superpower. It's all because of entrepreneurs. Like no one's helping us. It's just us helping ourselves. And that is what the big hope for the country, because everybody's enterprising.
See, the government's role is to basically lay out the entire infrastructure and the environment. They can do slightly better by doing a little bit more on that whole thing. So I would say.
Now they're doing it. Now they're doing it. Yeah. But for the largest time, like the growth which has been caused, it's because of the entrepreneurs. Maybe now it will be like governments and companies and entrepreneurs working together hand in hand, which will leapfrog us into another path.
But we don't have anything else to compare out here, right, Raj? I would say, let us say someone else had the same set. Someone else had 1 billion people, English speaking, right? And they were in the same 90s era. Would we have done better than them? We don't know. Is it because of the quality of the entrepreneur, or is it because at a certain time, the world needed a certain level of skilled people, of which we had a lot of them, and they all came in use. And then that's how we basically, charged the 90s and 2000s, right? So 90s, when we started, it was all about the software, Y2K and everything else, and the call centers and all. So what are call centers and tech, support centers and all? They're all arbitrages on, labor, right? On the cost of human capital out there. So a bunch of them. And what was the basic software, the Y2K thing and all? Similar. Some level of education had to be there. Some English speaking skills had to be there. And then a large and eager population which was willing to work at reasonable salaries. And that was what kick-started the entire thing. Once the money came in, then it got invested into various things, real estate and everything else. Consumption happened. And because of that consumption, you basically got several other industries.
So that's why you think like India, China, Indonesia, the large populated countries, they won. Because the West needed a cheaper alternative and they just chose us. Yeah. The guys with more money wanted to have their stuff made and cheap. So they went to countries where there were like more people willing to do it at cheaper price. And that's why these countries won.
So obviously, the fact that we had a stable government and a democracy helped, versus someone like a Pakistan, which actually has 1/3 of the population, right? Pakistan has around 300 million people, I think. And so they have all the same benefits.
Yeah. And but they didn't win. That's what my point was.
So obviously, a stable democracy helped. So governments that way helped.
Yeah. So post-1992 actually helped.
Yeah.
Do you think the conspiracy, and a question which I have along with a lot of people, usually US or UK, they publish a lot of wrong reports against India and maybe exaggerate the numbers because the West technically doesn't want anyone else to surpass them in any other industry. Do you think that happens?
I find it a little difficult to believe. I'll tell you why, right?
But a lot of people say this, like you've heard this, right? That a lot of Western world is trying to just make India or China, because these are the two countries in the race, bogus. And in fact, even Russia for that matter.
I can believe China. I mean, China is so far ahead of us. Yeah, maybe they're really scared about it. From my own experience in US and all, and it's dated, it's very limited. So maybe you can correct me on that. I haven't really seen anyone basically feel super threatened by India at this point of time.
But maybe they missed their chance on China. So that's why they want to do this with India very early on.
I don't know about that. I don't know what is happening on the conspiracy theory and all that sort of people really wanting to put us down. I don't believe it. But I could be wrong. So I don't have any. But I can possibly try and explain some of those really, tilted kind of reports.
Okay, please,
right?
Please do.
So even now, if you look at it, and we have just seen a big election in US, right? Fox News reports everything about Trump in a way, and CNN and MSNBC reports in a different way, right? If you actually break it down and look at it, there is some truth to both, but they present it in a
very different,
wildly exaggerated way. Not because they really want to do it. Some people just have that tendency. It's like some people are hardwired to be optimists and pessimists. Some people are this way or that way and all. So they'll end up doing a little bit more. Even NPR and PBS Radio and all these other guys who are known for basically doing very, very balanced reports, also come out with something, some of the statements, the way they phrase them, looks extremely prejudicial, I would say, biased against one person or another. Okay. I don't think it is because they really want to do it. I think it's just their belief, that's all. That, a Democrat is going to say certain things about Biden in a certain way, and a Republican is going to say some things out there.
You just believe like different people are incentivized and motivated in different ways?
Not necessarily fully incentivized. They just
have their biased opinions.
Have their slight bias, but it may not be a part of a conspiracy. That's all.
Are you biased towards anything in your industry?
In the pharma industry?
Yeah.
No.
Do you have your own biases and opinions? Something that you feel maybe, I don't know the whole truth of it, but I'm going to support it. Or I'm going to be optimistic about it because I'm from the industry.
Oh, about the drug industry? No, not all. And so I think this industry, as with any other industry, is basically going to need a lot more tougher regulation. I would say not, maybe you cut the number of rules, but you do more amount of monitoring to make sure that things are taken care of. That's what it'll probably need in the manufacturing side and all. That's all. And it is probably true for almost everything out there, right? And that's why we rely so much on brands and everything else to make sure we get the right product. It is not any different, honestly.
Should you trust a chemist which is in collaboration with a clinic of the doctor right next to him?
So, I would say the right answer is to do a little bit of research. If the prescription comes out, you look at the drug, and if it is of a large company, well-known company and all, you should be fine.
Okay.
Right? If it is a completely unknown company, and especially if the drug is not available elsewhere, it's available only in that place, then that means that it is being made in very, very small quantities, which means the quality may or may not be, there. So even if their best intentions are to maintain the quality, they may still not be able to do it. So hence you should be. I don't want to say this way or that way, because sometimes it may be for the convenience of the patient, right? Yeah. But the what should guide you is, okay, which company are you buying from?
Can anybody open a medical shop or a pharmacy shop?
No.
What are the regulations? Like, what is the eligibility criteria?
It is like any other business. Anyone can open the business as long as the conditions are met.
What is the eligibility criteria to open a medical shop?
A certain size, certain facility, certain kind of climate control, both in fridge and AC and everything else, and a registered pharmacist to operate the store. Okay. Someone who's got a certificate.
Okay, first diploma. Is, I have seen a lot of medical shops, they don't have air conditioning.
They should.
Lot of these like Dawa Bazaar type jagah pe jao aap agar, if they're like you see like back to back line mein so 100-200 kisi mein air conditioning nahi hota.
Clearly they're flouting the rules.
Kisi maine air conditioning jab tak I didn't see like a MedPlus or a wellness, I've never seen air conditioning.
At the time of their licensing, they'd have put an air conditioner and gotten the license and removed it. But a license is not issued if that is not there. A license is definitely not issued if there's no fridge to store all the stuff which has to be stored, right? So both have to be there. So 25 degrees, you have to maintain the overall store, and whatever has to be refrigerated has to be refrigerated. And then you need a pharmacist.
Wow, I didn't know this. Thanks. So are you telling me that any chemist or pharmacist who doesn't have air conditioning, we should not buy medicines from them?
It is not a good idea. Because efficacy of drugs definitely is lost if kept under a prolonged, higher temperature kind of thing. But I wouldn't go so far. But it is a done thing. You should have it. I mean, if that's the rule, you should have it. How
much inventory does a small chemist shop need? Like when you open one store, how much inventory do they need? Like what is the number of medicines they should typically start with?
It all depends, honestly. We do around 18 lakhs of inventory, and that's around 4,500 of SKUs at least, and then goes on to 10,000, which is around 30,000 per store.
4,500 SKUs, 18 lakh pieces.
18 lakh rupees value.
18 lakh rupees value inventory, 4,500 SKUs.
Yeah. Okay. And a small guy, again, it's very random because if you're attached right next to a doctor, and all the doctor is seeing is only headache, cough, cold.
Or let's say an ENT specialist, so they don't
literally 100 drugs or 200 drugs, and they'll put something else. But if you're working closely with the doctor, then the inventory level really goes down like crazy.
So initial investment in this business would be 18, 20, 25 lakhs?
No. Okay, for us it's 28 lakhs.
Okay.
But for most of the smaller guys, probably in the range of around 4 to 5 lakhs to max.
And how much profit do you per store makes for you guys?
So we do a typical EBITDA of around 5%. On the sales.
So 28 lakhs is initial investment. What is the yearly sale per store?
Yearly sale is roughly around 1.8 crores.
Okay.
And we make 5% after all costs, around 9 lakh rupees.
Okay.
And that's after nearly 1.5 years.
Do you think our country, like India's focus is a lot more on cost cutting and making money, not on innovation and research? Is that the major reason that why we are not being able to actually lead in the world by newer products?
No, I don't know. It is possible, but I think
because when you
for
talk
the longest time, the labor arbitrage was an easy thing to do. Easy to basically, hire 1,000 people, hire them at let's say 50,000 rupees a month or a lakh of rupees a month at 200 hours a month or 160 hours a month. What does it come to? It's basically $1,000, $6 per hour, and rent it out at $20 per hour and make the money, the larger number. So it's easy, no risk, right? Everyone loves easy stuff. Stock markets love easy stuff. Everyone loves it. So there's a lot of people who are willing to do it.
Yeah.
And so since there was adequate or a lot of opportunity out there, we ended up probably doing a lot of that, right? And maybe Israel didn't have that because, they have such a expensive manpower and they don't have that kind of numbers, and also they had to go into it. And they also had to defend themselves against, the rest of the world. So they went deep into defense, and from their defense side, bunch of other innovations came.
Yeah.
Which basically went into hardware and everything else and all, right? Everything which came in actually comes from their defense side. Yeah. So sometimes the environment basically sets you up for it. For us, maybe we have it easy that we have a large pool of manpower which can be used and we can make money.
There.
So everybody is doing that maybe, but it's a pity though. It would have been nicer for someone to do a little bit more than that. And probably the same thing on the pharma side too. We have the scale and we have the technology to go and, I would say, be the pill factory for the world. But factory, right? We are only doing a factory. We're not really innovating. We're not the discoverer of the world. Because we didn't need it. Because our companies are so busy making so much money just doing generics that they didn't think there was any need for innovation. In fact, they make so much money doing generics. Again, by Indian scale, it is great. Right? And it is good enough. So if you're making $1 billion, no one is telling you, why the hell are you not shooting for 250 billion? It's like, okay, $1 billion is good enough, right? So it's good enough. So that's what has been happening. Because we were having it easy, we did not see the need to innovate. And I'm pretty sure if you did the innovation too, the markets would have beaten you down. Said, okay, this is a risky enterprise. Who's funding it? Right? But I'm sure as the world becomes slightly more competitive and, opportunities for, let us say, it is completely possible with advancements in technology, AI and everything else and all, with generative tech, AI, you will see a lot of the basic work which we do today in our technology companies may actually get completely obsolete. May get redundant actually. So you may end up losing. So which will then force us to think a little bit beyond that. And again, maybe a lot of people start making generics and generics will be sold as generics in the country, and so there will be no more money in generics, and so people will then be forced to
innovate and do.
So sometimes it is that it's
environment
just that,
forces you to actually innovate and do.
But
that. I also believe that this is my way of thinking. Okay, I believe one of the big problems that we have is in India, as Indians, we dream, but we don't dream big enough. We are really dreamers. We want to do a lot of stuff, but we think about, earlier we used to only think about survival and making it enough that we are able to afford a house or like just protection for our family. Now we think that houses should get bigger and cars should get bigger, and that's our dream level. Rarely I meet people who are like, hey, you know what? I'm going to do world stuff. I'm going to take global. I'm going to do something so massive which has never been even thought about. So we don't dream big enough. I'm sure like 0.01% people are doing it, but the whole country is not even thinking about it, not even moving in that direction. So that I feel is one of the big problems, that we don't dream big enough. And I'm talking about entrepreneurs. I'm not even talking about people who are not able to survive at this point and doing month to month. I understand where they come from. So they need to focus on what's the need of the hour. But a lot of entrepreneurs who have gotten even in the comfortable positions, they're not thinking of, it's just not there. It's not how we are wired. And that is first. And second is, in India, we really ridicule failures. So a lot of people who have made it some level of comfort in their life, let's say, I don't know, someone's made like 100, 200, 500 crores in their life. Now they're so scared that if they do something crazy, people are going to call out on them. People are going to shit on them. People are going to just embarrass them left, right, center, that they won't be able to take it. And that's what is happening with a lot of entrepreneurs. If you look at, they get shit on just because they've raised money and they were not able to build a business. I mean, the point of raising VC money is that you're able to do something which has not been done, and 1 out of only 10 companies will survive, 9 will fail. But then they ridicule 9 so much that other 900 are not able to even take a bet, like not even able to take a chance. So I feel these are like 2 problems which I see. You're scared to dream bigger. And then if you dare to dream big, then you're being ridiculed in the country. You're being called out. You're just like so many things, like so many things. And that has been the nature of the country. Just look at the patterns. Do you think so?
No, possible. But I don't know if we are any different from any of the other guys out there across the world. I'm pretty sure it's the same.
But failure, I've seen like a lot of people in few countries, they take failure well.
No,
I they don't get ridiculed in a circle.
But
like, or on internet, or like, it just frauds people call out a lot.
Absolutely.
Right. But if somebody has tried to, like, I was in LA and I met a bunch of these Silicon Valley guys, right? Somebody's like 5 failures and 6 business worked out. Still like very, very happy. Somebody's like 3-time failure, still trying for another. People are still ready to back them. Nobody's making fun of them. They lost $100 million of XYZ people money. I mean, some guy hates him because, but not everybody. People are still ready to take a shot and be like, hey, yeah, you tried something, it didn't work out, fine.
I know, absolutely. But I still have to tell you this, Raj, that everywhere, past history counts. If you are someone who's already made money for your first guy, you find it very, very easy to raise the second and third and fourth, right? And people, unfortunately, it is not very different. While it may be slightly better in US, I don't think it is that much different. You will see, first time, second time, third time guys who are good, getting funded continuously, and other guys not funded so much. Obviously, in India, it may be completely, to the point of, being extremely disheartening for anyone to try more than a couple of times. You may not be able to raise the money. Possible.
And it's not about VC guys. I'm talking about the general public.
True. But that's true. But as an entrepreneur, you cannot really be pulled on by those things. When do you start a business? Right? You start a business when you look at something and say, that guy is doing it in a completely wrong way. Right? I can do it better, cheaper, or faster, and I know there's a way I can solve the problem. That's all. Everyone does that, and unless you have that, so then you step back and say, okay, but is it worth doing? Right? Maybe I'll make a little bit. So forget it. Right? Some people will say, yeah, it's worth doing for me. I will do it. It's a good enough opportunity. I'll do it. Some people say, I'll step back and say, while it is great, there's an opportunity. I don't want to do it. I'll wait for something more. And so the guy who's constantly evaluating stuff and thinking of making stuff better is the guy who's going to come out with an idea and do it. When you have that thing, when it is burning you up inside, you don't worry about what other guys are saying. You just go and do it, right? So if the idea is so good, then you will go. There are enough people and more today who are willing to fund good ideas. And the world is lacking for good ideas, especially in India. So if you have a good idea, then I'm pretty sure you'll find it. Obviously, it's going to be tough, right? If you have failed in the first time, the people are going to say, okay, so why is it different? So if you're able to explain why it is different, I'm sure someone will fund you. Never easy. So it's always good to basically start with a success, right? So that's unfortunate, but you have to live with it. That's part of. Then you go associate with someone else who's close to you, who has had a success, and say, now me and this guy will basically do it. He knows it. I have the idea. Both of us will. There's ways to work around it, but I would say if you have that fantastic idea, there's ways of funding it.
Of course, fair. It's just we need to now start focusing.
And even in US too, even in US too, there's several people, right? There's not everyone is like Elon Musk that he'll basically cash out of PayPal and basically put all the money and then be broke, right? So a lot of the people basically just go put the money, even if it is like 50 million exit, they'll put the money and relax. There's a lot of people who are taking exits and basically just do nothing.
Just chilling and
all.
So there's 1 million here, there in different startups.
And then basically just leading a retired life. There's a lot of people like that.
Here's a question of the day. Is very important. I don't know if this is the right question to ask you, but I think based on your experience, you would be able to help us. What should be in a first aid box, which everybody should keep in their houses?
I would say 100% fever, right? You probably have it. And I wouldn't say acidity and all, but let's say some Gelusil kind of stuff will just give you some instant, kind of relief. And 100% some kind of a fever, some kind of a painkiller.
Okay.
Some anti-inflammatory. Suddenly you have some swelling and all that sort of stuff. And possibly, I would say
Band-Aids, antiseptic.
Those are like cuts and bruises. Those are surgical items, right? And in tablets, I would say maybe have lopamide or something like lopramide, diarrhea, prevents diarrhea and all that sort of stuff. Sometimes, you eat something bad at night and there's no time to go and you're having a problem in the night. It's a good thing to have. And probably Orosol or something like that. But Orosol can quickly be made. Salt and sugar, if you're having any, dehydration kind of problems.
Got it. Perfect. So here's my question, which I ask almost every business person because I love doing this. It's divided into two parts. First is, what is next for you? Where do you see MedPlus going in next 10 years in terms of maybe numbers, impact, whatever it is? Where do you see it?
Okay. What's the second question?
I'll ask you second after this.
Okay. So for us, now that, today, nearly 20% of all medicines we sell are MedPlus brand. The goal is for us to basically establish a quality standard for this brand at a level which is far higher than what is there in the country. Basically start making our drugs or getting them made by using API, which is made for the US companies, US FDA approved API, and making it in US FDA approved facilities or EU approved facilities. So that I don't want to be telling people and telling you the next time, my drug is as good as, let's say, X or Y or Z. I want to be able to tell it is as good as, it's better than all this. And it's equal to anything in the world. So no one should basically say, I'm coming from US, should I pick up some Nexium from there, right? Our thing should be better than anyone else.
Standardized on the global level.
So go, to a level where quality then becomes the thing and our brand then sells across the world. So this is the number one thing for us. Then that I believe will help us to do 2 or 3 things. One, it'll obviously increase our margins, increase our overall sales and everything else. And, I don't want people to say, for instance, if I tell you that instead of your 5,000 rupee bill, it'll be 2,500 if you buy MedPlus, I don't want you to come back and say, but I'm not sure, is it really worth it, right? 2,500 is like something I can afford, but you're still a new company. So I don't want that to be the pitch. The pitch should be, buy my stuff instead of the other ones because mine is actually a better drug. And by the way, it also saves you some money, right? It is, instead of 5,000, maybe it'll now save you only 2,000 or maybe 1,000, but it's a better drug. So that's the goal for us.
And in terms of numbers, where do you see yourself?
So once we do this, once we achieve this thing, right, then as a reseller, it is a lot more difficult to do a franchising kind of model. But as a product and a brand owner, it's a lot more easy to do it. Once we build the brand, we believe we'll be able to do a lot more faster expansion through franchising. And for us, then, sky's the limit on the number of stores and all. So everything depends on how fast we grow here. But for me, as let's say among the top 2 players in the country, we should be at least at a 20% market share for the entire country. So if the 2 lakh crore goes to 3 lakh crores over a period of time, we should be at maybe 50 or 60,000 crore. That's the goal for us.
Okay, so from 6,000, so your
10x.
Your goal is to do 10x in next 10 years.
Something like that at least. We don't know how fast the market will grow. But at the same time, bringing in quality, which will drive better margins for us.
Where do you think is a $1 billion opportunity now?
In India. Food and I think clothing, basic needs have been met for everyone. Shelter is still not going to be met for a long time. There's money to be made at every level out there. If you can actually innovate in building materials or bring in some kind of standardization to low-cost housing, then sky is the limit. That is one industry which will basically continue to make money for a really, really long time. If you can actually bring in automation into that and everything else and all, it'll be fantastic.
Like standardization and low-cost housing.
Yeah. Building a brand and being able to reduce the cost and going in a mass scale in low-cost housing will basically make sure that you will never be short of market. Never be out of market across the country.
So give me a low-cost housing price. What do you mean by that? Like a 100 square feet, 500 square feet, 1,000 square feet, or 1 BHK, 2 BHK at 10 lakh, 20 lakh, 50 lakh. What is that low-cost housing?
I believe a small family can live in a well-designed 600 square foot house comfortably, well-designed place.
Okay.
And that can be achieved. You can actually build it for less than 10 lakhs. And that would be within the reach of almost everyone. Everyone will aspire to go get it.
So it can be sold in less than 10 lakh?
Yeah.
Okay.
10 to 12, that's all. Yeah, you should be able to sell it at that
So
price.
if any entrepreneur who is watching this can figure out a way to standardize a well-designed house under 600 square feet in different cities in India and be able to sell it at 10 to 12 lakh, then that is a big opportunity.
I think so.
In your eyes.
The dozens, but yeah.
But this is one like very specific.
Something which will basically never be out for a very long time. Housing is a huge problem across the country.
No, but I love it. I love the specific answer. Thank you so much for this. Thank you. It was a pleasure having you. I can talk to you for hours and hours and hours because I think there's a lot to pick up from your brain, like from different things. But we have limited time. So I'm going to take a liberty and ask you that we're going to do this again sometime.
Absolutely.
Maybe like 1 year, 2 years down the line, and then ask you where have we reached in the MedPlus journey, and just be connected to you and see what we can do together in future if there is any possibility.
We can be in touch, and yeah. So looking forward to meeting you maybe in a year's time. We'll see.
Yes, sir.
How
Thank
things
you
go.
so much. Thank you so much for watching this episode till the end. You know that you have to do 3 things. Number 1, you have to subscribe this channel, because the more you subscribe, the better the guest we will be able to get for you, and we'll be able to provide you value. Number 2, please comment and let us know what are the things that you liked about this episode and who are the guests that you want to see on our podcast. And number 3, please share this episode with at least one person, because one conversation is enough to change someone's life, and one conversation can give you enough insights to turn around and go from 0 to the level that you really want to reach. I'll see you next time. Until then, keep figuring.